Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, sponsored by Indigo Communications. I'm Peter Martin. Allan Ruff and Tam McManus are here with me as the countdown to the big game tonight in Seville continues. Yes, this could be a momentous night for Rangers if they can defeat Eintracht Frankfurt. Our reporter Kerry Pollock sets the scene for the big game.
The temperatures in Seville are soaring, as are the expectations of around 100,000 Rangers fans who have made the journey here to Spain.
I'm expecting Rangers to win. I'm hoping we win, but it's going to be a tough ask. We're playing a good team, you know what I mean? They deserve to be in the final as well, so it's whoever wants it on the day, I think.
You feel excited, but at the same time you're nervous as well, man. It's been a long time coming, you know what I mean? 10 years, man. 10 years ago today, we were third division, and now Europa League Final. Who would have thought it, man?
I think we've got a better chance than we did in 2008. I think this team, I thought in 2008 we scraped past a lot of teams, but I think nowadays we've definitely got enough in our locker to beat teams like Frankfurt, and we've beat Leipzig and Dortmund along the way, so I think we've definitely got it in us to do it this time.
They're all hoping their dreams of European glory will be realised at the end of the Europa League Final between Rangers and Eintracht Frankfurt. Both teams have trained on the pitch knowing that the heat and humidity could play a crucial part in their efforts to land the ultimate prize tonight. The Rangers manager, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, believes his side can take the crucial steps towards immortality against their German opposition.
We are very determined to bring the trophy back with us. We respect the opponent. The opponent did an amazing run in Europe as well, so it's got to be an exciting final, but a final is always nice when you win it. And if you lose it, you don't like it, so we are here to win it.
The fans have made the journey by planes, trains and automobiles, the majority without tickets, but that hasn't dampened their spirits. 50 years ago, it was legendary captain John Gregg lifting the European Cup Winners' Cup in Barcelona. Tonight, James Tavernier has the opportunity to write his name in the history books as another European winning captain for the Ibrox side.
Over the years, we've recruited very good players, especially this team that I'm playing in now. It's the best changing room that I've been in. We've got a mixture of youth and experience, and we're all really close in the changing room. So come match day, we know one another, and we'll go to the death for one another. So in any situation, I know the boys will prevail, and the mental character of every single one of them will shine through.
Eintracht Frankfurt will not be an easy team to defeat here in the Estadio Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. They have recorded a poor season in the Bundesliga, but they have yet to lose a match here in the Europa League, and have managed to take the scalps of Real Betis, Barcelona and West Ham on their route to the final. Eintracht Frankfurt manager Oliver Grasner believes the road to the final gives him the confidence that his team can win the Europa League.
If you win against the second and the fourth of the Bundesliga, then you are the favorite, because we are 11th in the Bundesliga. So maybe that's the calculation, but it doesn't matter. Both teams have absolutely deserved to play this final.
So it's all set up for a classic 90 minutes, possibly extra time, or dare I say it, penalty kicks. One more step, one last huge effort, and this could be one of the most memorable nights in Rangers history. A win and the Bears of Seville 2022 will be remembered forever.
Yeah, Kerry has set the scene beautifully there, Tam, because quite simply, you etch yourself into history. John Gregg did it in 1972, and the Barcelona Bears are forever remembered by Rangers fans with great affection, and this squad are on, the edge of that immortality.
Yeah, they are, and we were speaking about it earlier, James Tavernier. You look at how far he's came as Rangers captain. I can remember just before COVID stopped the season, Hamilton Accies beat Rangers at Ibrox, and they were all going off their head, all Rangers supporters, saying he should be stripped to the captaincy because of something they wrote in a programme note, about Rangers and about losing games and stuff. So, he was under fire from Rangers supporters, and you fast forward 2 or 3 years, and he could go, up there with John Gregg. You'd never have thought that, 2 or 3 years ago, even when Tavernier signed, when Rangers were struggling. And, fair play to him. I think he's been fantastic. I think he's one of the best right backs in Europe. I think he's showed that. I think he's a top scorer. So he's been fantastic, and I think it would crown a real renaissance from him if Rangers go on and win it.
Well, that's incredible. It's a right back who has scored 7 goals and is the top goal scorer. It's just unbelievable, and that's high praise from Tam there. I'm amazed that there's not clubs actually battering down Rangers' door and saying, well, okay, he might have little faults going backwards, but going forwards, his delivery, his ability to score from open play and penalty kicks.
Yeah, it's not the first time a lot of people who are down in England just can't believe that a club in England hasn't come for them. But there's sometimes when you're a captain of a team like Rangers and you're on the run that you're on, and obviously you're very well paid and the success that you're having, you have to sometimes look at yourself, if I went somewhere else, would I be getting the same kind of success? And I think playing in front of 55,000 every fortnight and playing in Europe goes a long way for you to make up your mind. Because obviously I don't know if there's any clubs have come into them, but if you're thinking it's a lower Premier or a top Championship, then you've got to seriously, I think the only thing that would be the consideration would be the wages. That'd be it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think too many clubs down south would be balking at what he's on at the moment at Rangers, but nevertheless, he's got a chance to lift a European trophy. Can he do it? There's a team who hope to stop him from achieving a dream tonight. That is, of course, Eintracht Frankfurt. Here's a wee bit about how they managed to get to the final in Seville.
Rangers square off against Bundesliga side Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League Final in Seville tonight as they bid to bring the trophy home to Glasgow. Frankfurt play at the Deutsche Bank Park and were founded in 1899. They are currently managed by former Wolfsburg coach Oliver Grasner. Frankfurt topped a Europa League group that included Olympiacos, Fenerbahce and Antwerp before shocking Real Betis in the last 16 with a 3-2 aggregate win. Eintracht Frankfurt have won the Bundesliga once, back in 1998, and they were UEFA Cup winners in 1980. Japanese midfielder Daichi Kamada and winger Filip Kostic could be key for the German side's chances. The two sides met 4 times during the 1960s, with the last match being a friendly at Ibrox in 1967. Rangers ran out 5-3 winners. The 4 games between the two clubs saw 29 goals scored in front of over 300,000 fans. Rangers are 11-10 to win the final, with Frankfurt the favourites ahead of kick-off.
Yeah, and if they're favourites, they're slight favourites to win this match, Eintracht Frankfurt. But again, I think every Rangers fan I speak to, and certainly I think a lot of people who've watched Rangers in European football, this is not a team to be feared based on what Rangers do. I was talking to a number of people this morning who were talking about the fact that Rangers know how to play European football.
They do. It started with Steven Gerrard, obviously. He came in and Rangers have came again. So far from, Pedro Caixinha sitting in a hedge in Luxembourg after getting beat off a team of plumbers. Not that long ago. Fast forward, 4, 5, 6 years in the final of the Europa League, it's incredible, the journey that Rangers have been on. But you're right, it was Gerrard that started it, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has tweaked it here or there. He's tightened up a little bit. I think Rangers were a wee bit more expansive under Gerrard. I think they're defensively more solid. The two full-backs don't push on as much as they've done under Gerrard, but you're right, they've got a great way of playing. They've got pace on the counter-attack. Ryan Kent's been outstanding in Europe. I know his numbers in terms of goals and assists have not been great, but in terms of ball carrying and getting at people and committing, getting into dangerous areas, he's been outstanding. And I think that Frankfurt will watch him, closely tonight. I think they'll double up on him at times, because I really think that he is the key man for Rangers. His threat is the pace. Eintracht Frankfurt are not really a team that go and attack. Hughes was in the other day and talking about it. Hugh McDonald, I watched him against Barcelona. Suited him to a tee. Barcelona came at them in the Nou Camp, rode on, and they picked Barcelona off 3 times. They could have scored 5 or 6 in the Nou Camp, so they're a dangerous team as well on their counter attack. So I can only see goals in this game. I think there'll be goals. I think that both teams will, punish the other team on the break. But as I said, if Rangers can just, keep it tight at the back, a wee bit tighter than Frankfurt, I think they'll edge a goal fest.
Everything the Rangers fans are saying, like we beat Dortmund and we beat Leipzig, the Eintracht fans will be saying the same about their European campaign. They've beaten Barcelona, they've beaten West Ham home and away.
Yeah.
So their league form isn't particularly good, but they've done the exact same as Rangers. Every time they went into a European game, maybe they've got European style players that suit the European style of football, so we'll have to wait and see in that one. But I wouldn't underestimate them, because that West Ham home and away is a very, very impressive result.
Yeah, thanks to so many people posting messages. Phil Hunter says, just bring it home, lads, make a bit of history. And Ever Nile says, good luck to Rangers, going for 2-0 tonight. Roy Spears says 3-1 to the Gers. And lots of people giving us their thoughts. 3-1 in normal time. Kent double and Tavernier, says David. There's lots of people offering their thoughts on it. The suggestion could be in this one that it might go extra time and penalties. I think that would be nervy for a lot of people. As far as head-to-head and players that have got quality, there's no doubt Eintracht do have indeed quality. Certainly Filip Kostic, their number 10, the Serbian winger. I think a lot of people are looking at the head-to-head between Kostic and James Tavernier, and you just have to look, Tam, at the figures there. James Tavernier's figures: 18 goals to Kostic's 7. The assists, again, Tavernier ahead. Kostic's, we're looking at the crosses as well from Tavernier, 279, and his passing ability. So maybe James Tavernier will be hoping that he can suddenly put Kostic back the other way when they come up against each other, go head to head.
Yeah, I think that'll be Rangers' tactics, to try and force Kostic to defend. You know, as an ex-forward myself, or ex-winger, the worst thing you want to do is track back away. If a full-back was pushing on and pushing you back, you're doing a lot of donkey work, a lot of defensive work. But just looking at the numbers there for Tavernier, 18 goals, 17 assists in 56 games as a full-back. 260 odd crosses into the box. He's an absolute dream for any striker, a dream for a manager.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely brilliant for Rangers this season. Yeah,
the goalkeeper for Eintracht, Roofe, I noticed something. I was reading up on so many aspects of Eintracht's players, individuals who might be, players that certainly Rangers have to keep their eye on. But the goalkeeper, he did something which I thought was quite unique, actually, to sharpen his skills. In training, he's been wearing gloves made out of rainproof material that's normally used on rain jackets, and it makes it even harder to catch the ball. So clearly he's doing that.
Roughly rolling for 20 years.
He's wearing
the slide
so that he can work harder at making sure he's not going to drop the ball when he's got his normal gloves on.
Well,
every tactic, eh?
Yeah, well, most goalkeepers now don't catch the ball anyway. They just try and get it out of the danger area because the ball's moving a lot. And I think the goalkeepers will have a big say. I mean, you always have a laugh at me when I say that, but goalkeepers in these finals will make this save that wins them, and I think it'll be the same tonight.
Yeah, this could be the interesting part of it. I mean, you're very much on goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I think with Allan McGregor, he's absolutely top drawer for me. It's amazing that we still consider him top drawer, and like Craig Gordon, he's at the tail end of his career, but he's just capable of wonder stops.
Yeah, and he's done it all the way through this campaign. I know my prediction yesterday was it'll go to extra time, it'll go to penalties, and the reason I'm saying that is because I hope Allan McGregor becomes the hero of the night. To be that age, 39, and all the time he's been at Rangers, this would just be the be-all and end-all if he's in this penalty kick competition and he saves the penalty that wins Rangers the cup.
You would be the greatest Rangers goalkeeper of all time.
I think he's got it.
Absolutely, no question. If Rangers win the night and he gets a Europa League plus, he played in the final. He was involved in the final. I don't think he played, but he was involved in that team.
Yeah.
Is there a Rangers goalkeeper better than him?
Yeah, because I remember Neil Alexander had to take the gloves in that night in 2008.
Peter had a good game at Barcelona and Chloe.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Rangers were 3-0 up in Barcelona. I mean, at the end of the day, there was a slight scare with Moscow Dynamo scoring a couple of goals late on, but I think by that time, Willie Johnson, Colin Steen had put them to the sword.
Yeah, Rangers supporters do have a problem in picking their best goalkeeper all time. I know the goalie, Andy, gets a lot of votes, but Stefan Klos gets a lot of votes as well, when he was there. But Allan McGregor's up there. If Allan McGregor wins this tonight, he claims it for himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you make, Tam, on this one. As far as most of the players who've been speaking, of course, as you listening to earlier on there at the start of the programme, James Tavernier well aware that this is it's a really tight bunch, Tam. They will absolutely put themselves through a brick wall to battle for each other. They'll fight for each other. There's a great team spirit among them as well. And when you look at it and consider that Haji's not there, Hilander's not there, Morelos is not there, but still they have other players coming in. Roofe has a part to play tonight, which I think is crucial. I think he might come off the bench. Who knows if he's confident enough to say, no, I'm going to throw him in. It's the one game that we need to win.
I think he'll start Roofe. And he'll try and get an hour out of him, 70 minutes, and I think he'll bring Sakala on for his pace when the game opens up. I think you find a lot of managers keep that pace on the bench, just for the last 20-25 minutes when defenders are tired, and they can go and get after them. But the team spirit and the morale amongst the Rangers team must be incredible. They've got a great opportunity to become legends. you know, I looked at some of they've had a really busy schedule as well. I mean, the Celtic semi-final, you know, everybody fancied Celtic. You know, Rangers had a really tough game during the week. You know, they came out of that and you thought Celtic would be the Rangers again. Even the guys that come in, you know, off the bench, out the squad, came in and done a job. So the squad's really strong. It's a real tight-knit squad. I read Tavernier saying that there's nobody, you know, no big time, no egos in there. No, they're all battling, they're all pulling in one direction, and it's amazing what you can do when you've got a squad all going in one direction and pulling together.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as Eintracht are concerned and the confidence rippling through their squad, you know, we have been raving about Rangers' run. As Tam mentioned, nobody's really were tipping Rangers to get to the Europa League Final. And when you consider the scalps that they've taken along the way, Borussia Dortmund certainly sent shockwaves across Europe. And then Leipzig and Braga, Red Star Belgrade, all really top teams. And I think a lot of people were tipping Rangers to go out at each stage of that. But of course, Eintracht, as Roofe mentioned, have got games to brag about in their own right. Barcelona, no mean feat to knock them out. And over and above at West Ham, you've got Real Betis as well. Jens Peter Hauge, who's the Frankfurter midfielder, says, this group has a lot of potential. We've struggled in the Bundesliga in the second part of the season, but we've shown in Europe that we are a good team, a really strong team who can perform well when it matters, especially when we beat Barcelona. It gives you a lot of confidence as a player, as a team, and a group. Mm-hmm. I think that's the manager. I think that's his line to the players. By the way, you've beaten Barcelona. Yeah. This is the final. Go out and replicate what you've been doing.
Yeah, that's what I said. Both sets of managers should be saying exactly what you just said there just now. You know, but the big difference for the two of them's run through here. This is one game. You know, sometimes you can go away from home and say, right, let's keep it tight, and it's 1-0. We'll take them back home and our own support. That's not the case now. This is a one-off. This is on the night. You know, who performs.
Neutral venue.
Neutral venue, and it's a tragedy. There's only 42,000 getting into this game. I think they've made an absolute boo-boo with this one. The final should be 70,000 stadiums.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roofe. I think it's. I must admit, if you're a fan and you're going to the game, and you know it's like finding a needle in a haystack, finding somebody who's going to sell you a ticket for a reasonable price. That must be gut-wrenching, Tam.
No, it is. I think obviously the Celtic fans went through that, you know, in 2003. You know, they couldn't get tickets. Rangers supporters, listen, my phone's been red hot as well. I couldn't get my own brother-in-law a ticket. He's away over with my nephew. So just going to soak up the atmosphere and stuff. So yeah, totally agree. The stadium's nowhere near big enough. You know, you look at stadiums like the Nou Camp or Dortmund Stadium or 80,000-90,000.
Yeah.
You could have get 30,000-40,000 of each support in there, which would have been double what they're getting now. So it's disappointing, but the fans that have got a ticket will just be hoping that they're there that night that the Rangers win the cup.
I think if you're heading up to the stadium as well, Roofe, you get your jacket, you've got your bum bag in your trousers, zipped over, and you just walk past people saying, I'm still looking for a ticket myself, because the last thing you want to do is somebody nicks your ticket, and you just want to make sure you are in there. And I don't know about you, Roofe, but you want to try and buy as many mementos of your trip there as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never was there as a player, but I was there with the media. I was there in Seville, and I was there in Manchester, and you've just got to soak up everything that's gone there. The people walking, you know, to the stadium, they know they've not got tickets, sitting in bars and having a laugh and a bit of banter and everything that goes with it. It is amazing. As you say, you just want to pick up every wee bit of souvenir that you can to remember the occasion. Yeah, the one thing that will be good about it, Tam, the colour of it all. We'll all talk about, and let me say at this point, Rangers fans over there, lots of the pictures, I mean, the Rangers fans are mingling with, Alfredo Morelos is out there as a fan. I mean, look at the hat. He's just mingling with all sorts of supporters who spot him and quickly want to get a photograph with him. And I think, as you can see, he's more than happy to do that. I think, if anything, while he's getting his photograph taken with Rangers fans, he'll be absolutely gutted that he's not part of that game. I can remember certain players who've missed out in a European final. One of them, Stuart Kennedy, who was a stalwart for Aberdeen, top player. Fergie knew that he was injured and he was never going to play again. That such was the severity of his injury. But he put him on the bench because he'd got them there. Great right back. I look back to, Derek Johnson played
in the 1972 Cup Winners' Cup final, because quite simply Colin Jackson had picked up an injury prior to the final, so he got in as a young man. And then Joe McBride was scoring goals in 1967 for fun for Celtic, broke his leg I think in the December, missed it being part of the Lisbon Lions in 67. Sometimes that sliding doors moment can affect you, and Morelos must be thinking that.
No, he must be. He'd be devastated. I think he's played a huge part in it as well. I think his performance in away to Dortmund was one of the best performances I've seen from a striker at any level, in a long time. Led the line well. Hummels as a top defender, let's be honest. He's won the World Cup with Germany. He's won the Bundesliga, and Morelos gave him a down. He ran him ragged, and the Rangers will miss that tonight. There's no doubt about that for me. Roofe is a good player. I think Sakara's a good player, but they're not as good as Morelos. And I think if Morelos was playing, then you would really fancy Rangers more strongly. But he's not there. He's there. He's supporting the team, and I think that shows you the spirit and the camaraderie that the players have got. They're out meeting the fans. He was a real great spirit amongst the Rangers as a club at the minute, the team and the supporters.
Yeah. I remember, just when you're talking about players who miss it, I remember when we were in Seville, we were in the stadium about 3-4 o'clock just doing some work and that, and away in the corner of the stadium, just sitting by himself, was John Hartson.
Yeah, because he missed out as well, Rob. That's a great point.
Just sitting by himself, and you were wondering what was going through him, thinking about, where he could have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was he injured or was he just left out?
No, he was injured. And John played his part in getting Celtic there. The goal against Liverpool, the goal against Celta Vigo.
Yeah, free kick.
Yeah, so, and you look at Morelos, as you said, he's played a fantastic part in it. It'll be rich in colour inside the stadium in Seville. Of course, the Eintracht Frankfurt fans want to play their part as well. They've had some questionable banners, I have to say, Tam, over the last few weeks in European competitions, but if you believe the hype on it, 7 trucks have brought the tifo over, which is a huge display.
What's tifo?
Yeah,
I thought tifo was a food, it was delicacy
or
the region.
So,
but I worry, as soon as somebody says the ultras are coming, I start panicking. The ultras, I mean, I hope they're nice ultras.
I'm sure there are some, but I've yet to meet them. Ruffy. I mean, listen, I don't know about you, but the banners just add to the whole thing, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, even in Manchester, and that was a beautiful stadium to have a final in, and both sets of fans brought an evening to remember. Obviously, it never went well for Rangers, but if you were there and you had a chance to be in the stadium, it is absolutely bouncing on the night.
Yeah, it will be one of those moments. I don't know if I agree with Ruffy. I think it should have been a bigger stadium, but when the players walk out, I think that's when it really will hit them, when they see the fans there. Can you give me before I get your prediction on it, because obviously everybody, and thank you to so many of you who've offered your prediction how the game's going to go, who's going to be the match winner. Does the heat and the humidity play a part in all this? And then over and above that, I don't think anything else comes into it now, Tam. But I was looking at Eintracht Frankfurt. They've spent 70 million in the last 3 years on players. This is a club who sold 2 of their better players for 100 million combined. So they spent a lot of money on players. When you look at Rangers, they only spent 17 million. I mean, it should be a mismatch, but I don't see it that way. No,
but the Rangers have obviously signed a lot of players on frees and gave them big money, big contracts. Obviously, I don't think there'll be as much as the teams in the Bundesliga pay, but I don't think there's anything between the teams. The heat and the humidity, I think, will play a part. By all accounts, it's 35, 36 out there just now, so it's really, really hot. Even at 8 o'clock at night, it's still going to be warm and humid, so I don't think Frankfurt is that much warmer than Scotland, to be honest. I think both teams will maybe be affected by it, but I haven't fancied Rangers really the whole tournament. I certainly didn't fancy them to win it. I thought Dortmund would have beat them. Braga and Belgrade, I thought Rangers would have won. I didn't think they would beat Leipzig. So now I'm sitting at it, I'm going, Rangers have put out 2 better teams for me. Leipzig and Dortmund they're a better side than Frankfurt. Yeah. So I'd really fancy Rangers now. I really fancy Rangers tonight. I think they'll do it. I think they'll win it. And I think it might take till after extra time. I'm going to go for 2 each. full time, and I'm going to go for 3-2 to Rangers in extra time.
Yeah, that's a lot of goals in the game. If it's a cracker the way you're suggesting in a goals fest, I think there'll be a few people jumping up and down on their couch and going mental, Ruffy. For the fans who can't make it or sitting at home, in fact, I think there's been a queue around what we would call traditional Rangers pubs in Glasgow. There were huge queues just to get into them at 4 and 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I was in the town this morning, and as you
Queuing?
can imagine, not queuing, shopping. I was shopping, and and even the people who aren't there are enjoying every minute of it. And good luck to them. This will be, even if you're in Glasgow, it'll be a day to remember. And possibly an even better night to remember, So they're all buying into it, but we keep saying let's make it a good night to remember, and let's hope we're talking about the football and nothing else.
Yeah, Hugh Scott says, Peter, please tell Tam, to tip Frankfurt. Don't tip us. Obviously, you think
my track record.
You think of Jonah, who knows? But
Sorry.
Yeah, and also I think Marlon, who's got a great memory, he says, Peter, could you ask Tam what happens if you stick a tenner on Rangers tonight? Well done, well done, Marlon. Brilliant memory on that line. Yeah, you regret that now.
Well, 33-1 Rangers were at the time, and I said if you put a tenner on, you'll lose a tenner. So I hope you didn't listen to me, Marlon. You put a tenner on.
Do you know? Do you remember that day, Ruffy? He just said it as if he just said it that day. I'll never forget looking at you, and you said it slowly as if you were delivering some kind of Marlon Brando speech. But in the end, it's come back to bite him on the backside. I've asked him about the conditions. You've played in Seville in the searing heat. What's it like for players, Ruffy?
Well, I'll obviously have a lasting memory in Seville, and it's hard to describe because it was 36 degrees, but it wasn't sunny. It was a balmy night, and obviously the Brazilians were there, and they were just walking about, there wasn't a bead of sweat on them.
Yeah.
And I remember Graham Souness and some of the boys this is in the warm-up, just running about, and their T-shirts were absolutely soaking wet, and they were drained. And I think Graham said, it was somebody else, maybe Gordon or something, said they lost about £8. £6 to £8 during the 90 minutes of that game, you know, because of the humidity of the whole night. It wasn't the sun that was shining, it was a nighttime game.
Yeah.
And, it was, they never even broke sweat.
Is there a tendency that the game slows down? I mean, that's the one thing about all the other games, home and away, they've been different, because of...
It's going to be a high tempo game.
No,
two teams flying each other.
But it's fortunate, it is fortunate it's not two teams that are coming from, the weather that's warm all the time. If it had been a Portuguese side or a Spain side, you would say, well, they've got an advantage because they're used to playing in this. But as we've just discussed, these two aren't. So style of play. I think Rangers have got the Aribo, they've got Kamara, they've got these guys
to keep the ball,
who can play that, keeping the ball, and you say lowering the tempo of the game. But you've got to enlight it sometime. And Ryan Kent has to be a big player tonight. We have to see the Ryan Kent tonight that everybody's been saying, this guy is a £15 million player. Go out and prove it tonight to everybody.
I think you're right, Ruffy. If I am Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I'm saying to the boy, you've got all the talent in the world. These are the moments when, as a manager, you earn your corn because you've worked. The Rangers players know their formation. They know everything about Eintracht Frankfurt that they could possibly stick into their heads without muddling it. And it's just a case of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst now saying, well, there are certain individuals that I need to produce something that the fans go away and always talk about it. And I think he's got to go to Ryan Kent, put his arm around his shoulder and say, listen, son, you're one of the best players in this park. Go out there and show it.
You've got to do something different on the night. You've got to have that big moment in the game. Ryan Kent's got that. You've got players in the middle of the park. Ruffy just mentioned them there, nice and tidy, keep the ball. See, when it comes to the final third, you need people to take risks. If you never take a risk, if you never try a pass, you never try to take someone on, you never try a cross or a shot, never going to score a goal. So that wee bit of individual magic in the final third that Rangers can win it tonight, and Frankfurt can win it as well. But it's going to be a tight game, and it'll just come into these wee split seconds of quality where you go, by the way, that's unbelievable. What a bit of skill that is to go and slide somebody in or chip the goalie or a wee bit of skill to nutmeg a defender and win a penalty kick or whatever. So You're right, Kent is that guy I think that the Rangers supporters will be looking for tonight to produce that.
Yeah, in my mind, Ruffy, it's going to be tight. I don't quite see the goals fest that Tam is suggesting for this one. So everybody's offered their tuppence worth on this one, and I know lots of people will be getting ready to settle down with a few beers if they're not lucky enough to get out there, if not lucky enough to get a ticket. They'll be settling down from a few beers, whether it's outside the stadium, in a pub, at the other stadium, or indeed back here in Scotland and all across the globe. Expats who follow Rangers, they'll be looking at this and thinking, I don't know about you, but I've got a sneaky feeling it's extra time, and I think 2-1 Rangers, but the goal comes in extra time.
No, I'm going to go one each in 90 minutes and one each at extra time. I definitely think it's going to penalties.
Yeah,
I really do think it's going to penalties, and as I said yesterday, unfortunately, when it goes to penalties, this is just me thinking it's the big players that miss the penalty and players you don't know. So now when somebody walks up to take a penalty, you go, oh no, and they score, and then the confident guy comes up who, I'm not saying Tavernier, I hope it's not Tavernier.
Yeah,
but they're
you know
the ones
Tavernier
like,
can't take all 5 penalties.
No, I know, but he could miss one of them.
Never get 5 in 90
it might
minutes.
be the one. Whatever.
Do you know he's the one player?
Yeah.
If I was putting a real heavy amount of money on, think about it, Seville, the pitch will be immaculate. It's not like the other penalty that he missed that he skied over the bar up at Dens Park, where it's a cow field.
But the people I'm talking about are Beckham. You know, when Beckham strode up to take his penalty, and obviously the turf moved a wee bit. Pirlo missed, Platini missed, all the big ones that you would think stick-ons.
Yeah.
Baggio, stick-on, he's a stick-on. Wow. I hope it's not the case. I hope it's 5 out of 5, and I really hope Allan McGregor saves the last one.
Yeah,
I really do.
If it goes to the last penalty, people's nerves will be shredded. Although I do like the fact that not only Jurgen Klopp has mentioned it, as he's brought in a neuroscientist who looked at the whole thing. There's an art to taking penalty kicks. Rangers will have practiced penalty kicks non-stop, and I think the key to it all is, I don't know if you've noticed, Tam, the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper in the playoff last night, he stood in the middle at times, because a lot of players have opted for driving the ball right down the middle.
Well, there was a picture on social media, just seen it before I come on the show there, and he on his water bottle he had every single player and where they put the ball, and he had the boy Houlihan who missed, went straight down the middle, he had stay written next to Houlihan, and when he hit the ball he just went like that, he stayed in the middle and he went down the middle and he flicked it on over the bar. So it's amazing, the goalkeepers, and I'm absolutely certain that the Rangers coaching staff, goalkeeping coaching staff, and Allan McGregor last night, even this morning, would have been looking at the last 20 penalties Frankfurt have hit. They'll be looking at the last 20 penalties, where's he put, right, this is this guy here, he puts it there, he puts it there.
It's all psychology.
I know, but
if you're saying it's 20, surely Frankfurt are going to go, they're going to, they could easily say, you're going to look at my last 20 penalties, so I'm going to change it.
You've got, but then you put doubt into the taker's mind. And for me, if you've got, I had a favourite way. I'd rather go across the goalkeeper. I scored a lot. Whenever I missed penalties in my career, I changed it and I went that way. I went just to side foot it, and the keeper would. I always went across the keeper.
I always think the greater percentage of lefties go across the goalkeeper. You know, to the goalkeeper's left.
I think for a taker.
But
my theory,
you're not really in a good position to offer a theory, are you?
I've had a couple of penalty competitions. My theory is, now listen to what I'm going to say. You got 5G, you're taking penalties, right? And say you're taking your 4th or the 5th penalty, right? And my theory is 5 penalties go the same way all the time. First 3 penalties go the same way all the time, because when it comes to him, he's going to say to himself, he's not going to keep going there.
Yeah.
So the last 2 you have put doubt in the last 2 penalty kick takers that you're going to. So I would go 5 times the same way all the time.
But I don't think the players would notice that.
I wouldn't go for that theory, by the way.
I wouldn't. If I was a 5th taker, and I'd just be thinking about mine. I wouldn't even be watching. I wouldn't be watching where the goalie went.
No, I think there's a lot more thought into it than the percentage that he's talking about. I think players now, goalkeepers especially, look at every penalty kick that's been taken, and then they look at the style.
Why do so many of them dive the wrong way?
Well,
why do so many of them, like Liverpool, man, they all went the wrong way?
Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, now I think it's moved on. I think it's moved on as far as the art of taking a penalty. I think players put a lot more into it. I think if you go back to Rangers in 72, they actually ended up going through a penalty kick competition against Sporting Lisbon, but they'd scored away goals and the referee made a complete back end of it. Rangers were through, but they went through this rigmarole of a penalty shootout, and Rangers missed every penalty. You know, but as we move on now, there's a percentage of people who say if you take penalty kicks and you go, you know, mid to high, you've got a greater percentage chance of scoring a penalty on the corners, into the corners. So if you're good enough to do that, as Tavernier has been, I mean, he scored one of them into the absolute postage stamp one night. It was an absolute belter of a penalty. Well, absolutely. But if you are confident you're good at penalty kicks, you practice it. But if I'm looking at the penalty kicks and I'm saying to myself, okay, the keepers will have studied everything. If I'm looking at the goalkeepers, I'm saying to myself, I'm glad Allan McGregor's in there. Because he is the man that can come up with something. The
thing for me is, I've played in games and you go into finals, semi-finals, and you practice penalties, and I always practice the same penalty and the same corner. I would never change it. Yeah. So we would have a.
But say I was playing against you and I noticed that. But I'd be away before you kick it.
But if I hit it,
I know that's where you.
If I hit it well enough, if the Rangers players hit it well enough into the corner, doesn't matter if you go the right way, you still score.
Are you going to hit it good enough in front of 42,000 people?
That's a different
story. And there's all sorts of things, the complexities of the pressure as well. And I always think once you get to sudden death, step forward the players who didn't want to take a penalty in the first place. Anyway, I've gone 2-1 extra time. You think penalties, and you think Rangers 3-2.
Yep.
Good luck to Rangers. Fingers crossed. By the time some people will be watching this programme, expats, and we thank you so much for watching our programme and subscribing and hitting the subscribe button on YouTube. The figures have been fantastic for us. The podcast downloads have been absolutely brilliant as well. Thank you for that. And the people downloading our app and watching it live on their phone has been absolutely superb since we've decided to go fully out on YouTube. The people who've shared our stream and of course told their mates as well, and hopefully next season we'll get bigger and better again with myself, Roofe and Tam at the helm, and a few others that will add to the side. So do indeed hit that subscribe button, and we'll have lots of features over the summer months just to keep you going with your fix of football as well. So with that in mind, we've all gone for Rangers. What do you think? Give us your thoughts on that. And I can tell you tomorrow on the programme and on Friday as well, we'll give you a chance to win one of the Europa League programmes, because it's always nice to be able to get a programme as a memento from the game. So if you're there and you didn't buy one, or if you are a fan who would love to have a memento of that game, Eintracht Frankfurt against Rangers, especially if it is a winning one for Rangers, then we will give you the details of how you can win that. But don't forget to hit the subscribe button for us. So with the Europa League Final discussed ad nauseum, thank you to so many of you who have given us your thoughts on it. Lots of people offering their tuppence worth on Rangers in a momentous night. And there's some people, I mean, Kevin thinks 2-0 Frankfurt. Colin Anthony thinks 6-0 Frankfurt. Colin, I think I know where your allegiance lies. I mean, there are some. I don't buy into what Graham Souness said, your old mate, about, you know, there's lots of people who are parochial in Scotland who should be backing the Scottish side, because we know the way tribalism works up here, Roofe.
Yeah, it's vice versa. I think anybody, Rangers and Celtic supporters, would be honest enough to say that they don't want to see their rivals being successful. That's just part of football. That's the way they're brought up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we get ever closer to kick-off, the Rangers fans who are over there, if they can't get a ticket for the game and they're just there with their mates enjoying it, it's great weather to enjoy it in. Fingers crossed we're celebrating a Scottish club winning another European trophy. That would be fantastic. We will discuss the game in greater detail tomorrow. We'll look at all the highs and lows of it, and the winners and losers and the heroes on the night. Join us if you can, 4 o'clock. Other news that we want to talk about. Lee Johnson looks as if he's in the box seat now to get the Hibs job, Tam.
Yeah, he looks as if he's going to get the job and be announced in the next couple of days. I think it was out of him and John Dal Thomason. I think Thomason has priced himself out. I think that it was always a long shot to try and get somebody of his calibre. I think the Hibs board would really have had to push the boat out for somebody like that. You know, a guy who's managed in the Champions League. I think Lee Johnson obviously comes in. He's got a decent record. I was having a wee scan over his record. You know, done well at Bristol City. Didn't have a great time at Sunderland, but apart from that, you know, and as I said the other day in the show, there's not going to be a manager you're going to get who's never had a disappointment somewhere along the line. But he's got good experience. You come up, all you're wanting is the board to give him time, back him in the transfer market. And there was a guy last night, Paul Heckingbottom, you know, done really well at Sheffield United, who didn't last too long at Easter Road. So it's a similar kind of appointment to him. You know, he probably, Lee Johnson, I'll have all his contacts and all his signings will be in England. So they'll come up and they've got to, you know, I don't think Scottish fans give English players a lot of time when they come up. Maybe I'm wrong there, but certainly in terms of Hibs, you know, you've got to come up and hit the ground running. You've got to come up and start well, and because the Hibs supporters will be making judgments pretty early, you know, who's good enough and who's not good enough.
Yeah, the only problem with that I have, Tam, is that's on the basis you think Lee Johnson's going to have the call on the majority of the signings.
Well, you'd like to think so. I think a guy like him wouldn't really take the job if he didn't have a lot of say in that matter. Listen, we don't really know what's going on in there. You know, we've had various rumours and various stories about the transfer comings and goings at Hibs, but at the end of the day, it's his neck on the block, and he'll be wanting the final say on who's coming in and who's going out.
It's an interesting one if they're bringing players in and he doesn't pick them. There's no guarantee. He might be told there's players coming in, but it's up to him to put 11 on the park. You know, that's when you get a bit of an argument. You know, if they're saying, "Hey, we brought him and you're not playing him, get something sorted out here." If that is the case,
listen,
I'm not saying
that's not unique. There's a lot of clubs who do that, Ruffy. That's happened over the years, and listen, it happened across the city at Tynecastle as well for a long period in the dark days of Vladimir Romanov. But I mean, are we led to believe that he's taken a pay cut for this one?
He has. I think that was you know, the rumours in the papers today in the media that he's, I think in terms of Sunderland, I think he'd have been on a good salary at Sunderland. Still think he'd been a good salary at Hibs. Don't think it'd be as much as Sunderland, but you know, I think that shows your willingness from him to come up and give it a go in Scotland. But he's got Jamie McAllister coming up, a guy I know well, played against him plenty of times at Aberdeen and Livingston. He will probably know the Scottish game a lot more than Lee. I think he'll be valuable for him coming up and giving him a little insight into the Scottish market.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see the type of player that comes in if Lee Johnson has got his hand on the steering wheel and makes all the decisions in the direction that Hibs are going after the summer. We will wait to find out. We'll obviously be looking on and covering his press conference to see what he's got to say about his time when it starts at Hibs. Elsewhere, I can tell you that if you're looking for some special one-to-ones, we've got more than a few on there. We'll put up Charlie Adams' dream team, the best 11 players that he's played with. Some interesting selections in Charlie's 11. But if you want other unique content, we have it. There'll be lots more one-to-ones to come on over the summer. And I can tell you that our reporter Kerry Pollock has been busy right off the back of having a chat with Brian Graham, who was the man who scores goals for Partick Thistle this season. She's had a chat with the Motherwell in Scotland right back, Stephen O'Donnell, and she's been asking him some great questions, well worthy of you, even if you are not a Motherwell fan, of listening to what Stephen has to say. He's been talking to Kerry, and obviously Kerry wanted to know about our prospects of getting to the World Cup.
So last question then, can they do it? Can you get there?
Yes, I don't see, well, I can see why not, because I can see a good Ukraine side with a lot to lose as well. But I look round the dressing room and I see quality in everywhere, and I don't see why that can't be a very good recipe to get the win and to get us to Qatar.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well worthy of your time. If you love your football fix, then Kerry Pollock is chatting to Stephen O'Donnell. And of course, Ruffy, if anything, you know, at times, knowing Stephen, he does suffer sometimes from a wee bit of a confidence bashing from time to time. But he's certainly resilient, because he's hanging in there and he doesn't let Steve Clarke down.
No, I can't remember a particular international game where he has let the country down. He always gives his best. You know, and some people will say, oh, they're better players than him on forum. But, you know, I think that's up to the manager to assess that when they all meet up. We know Motherwell, all right, they're in Europe, but they're not had a great season, and sometimes he's suffered for a wee bit. But he's quite a confident lad, as we know, when we have him in here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at the end of the day, he'll want to be part of that.
It'd be interesting to see who Stevie Clarke goes for in that huge game against Ukraine. Patterson's out injured. Will it be O'Donnell or will it be Ralston? I don't. Is there anyone else in the right back who you would, bar those two, who you would maybe think about playing? I can't off the top of my head.
I think if Ralston's not involved, well, Palmer was involved before, but I think if Ralston is not getting a shout, you know, if they're looking for a squad, I'd be amazed. He really has battled away. Elsewhere, this is the time when a lot of players have to face up to the fact that the manager just doesn't view them as part of the plans, or indeed other players just take up the opportunity of signing for another club. Jack Anick has signed for Cardiff City from St Mirren, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a shock. I think Dundee United thought they had him under wraps. Obviously, Siegrist looks as if he's desperate to go somewhere else, but no, I think he's a fantastic season, particularly the weekend there. Some of the saves he had was fantastic, and unfortunately, you know, when they get approached by clubs down south, it's the draw, the finances and everything. So, no, good luck to him. I think he's been great since he left Rangers.
And I always think there are moments in a season, Tam, I call them sliding doors moments, where something happens that changes the fortunes of an individual or a club. And Kyle Lafferty revealed today he could have signed for Dundee, but John Nelms just wasn't available to sanction that extra bit of cash. And suddenly he thought to himself, well, I'll go down to Kilmarnock, I'm not going to hold on any longer. Signs for Kilmarnock, scores crucial goals. Kelly are coming up, Dundee are going down.
Yeah, I think that would have been a great signing for Dundee. I think they were desperate for a striker, and it just shows you, you know, in your career, there's times where you think, I've dodged a bullet, no going there. Or there's times where I wish I'd have went there and the team's successful. So I think for Kyle, I just think Kilmarnock's a good fit for him. You know, he's been done well before. Obviously at a lower level in the Championship, he's just signed another year. I think Kyle's a guy who you need to give a 6-month deal to or a year at most. I think it keeps him hungry, keeps him on his toes and keeps him scoring goals. I think listen, he's getting older now anyway, but I think if you were to give him a 2 or 3 year deal, I don't think you'd get as much out of him.
Yeah, okay. So we've talked Europa League, we've talked about various stories that have emerged this morning. Just before we go, Ruffy, I'm looking there at last night. I watched a wee bit of Southampton against Liverpool. Liverpool edged it. I had a look at their team selection. I thought, okay, Jurgen has just put the flag up and said, I now know where my priorities are. He doesn't see Man City slipping up. He's realising that the Champions League is where Liverpool's bread and butter will be this season.
Yeah, and I said to you a couple of years ago that I actually read a book, which you found hard to believe, that I read it right to the end. And I can't remember who it was now, but it was somebody who said, we don't care. I think it was Niall Quinn, we don't care about winning the league. If we're in Europe, we're in the Champions League, that's all we're interested in. We're in the top 4, that's all we're interested in.
Who was it?
Playing in Europe.
What book was it?
Niall, I think it was Roy Keane as well.
Yeah.
He said that. He said, we don't win the league.
Was this Niall Quinn when he was at Man City?
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 of them have said that. Honestly, they just want to be.
I don't think it was Niall Quinn, do you, Peter?
No, I don't actually.
I don't think it's Niall Quinn.
I didn't want to.
Mighty Quinn.
Listen, we started.
Andy Quinn.
We started.
He's just got a name there.
We started with Tifo. Why even bother? The other thing I was going to say to you is, you know, there is going to be an exciting aspect to the final day, but I don't think it'll come in Manchester City slipping up at home against Aston Villa, and I don't think even Jurgen Klopp believes that.
Last time when it was that close, City won it because, let me say, 11 inches, ball in, not in, stuff like this. So many things happened during this second part of the season. That I think if we would become champion, it would be deserved as well. But for that, we have to win.
Yeah, Liverpool will take them down to the wire. There's only 1 point in it at the moment.
If you're a Manchester City supporter, you're thinking Aguero.
Yeah.
Are you going to go through that 90 minutes? Who was it against?
Yeah, QPR.
I mean, you never ever have thought that was going to happen that day.
No.
QPR, and stranger things have happened.
I would love
QPR, the difference with that is QPR had to win or get something to stay up.
Yeah.
It's something to play for.
Steven Gerrard.
Villa.
Liverpool.
Villa have got nothing to play for.
What about Steven Gerrard? What about saying to the lads?
Gerrard can't play. He can only put the team out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, can't play.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
5-0 City.
I agree with you, by the way. I think it'll be. I think it'll be
5-0 City.
I think Man City will win 5-0.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that good?
I would urge gamble responsibly. Right. Put a fiver on 5-0 to Man City.
I agree with you, Tom. I know it sounds absolutely radical, but not, you know, you need to be a nutter to suggest it. But I think 5-0.
No, I don't think so.
What do you think? 2-1?
I'll go really comfortable. 2-0.
2-0.
2-0.
He does it every week.
I don't care. It's enough.
Yeah,
you love a
well,
2-0.
He's like that because
2-1 each. It says 2 stock scores.
Absolutely, because he doesn't need to buy a meal. He's just happy. He's like yourself, because we know Tam Cowan is taking us out for a meal. Just one other little point. Tomorrow, huge at the bottom end of the English Premier League, Ruffy. Everton, if they can defeat Crystal Palace, I think they're safe.
Yeah, I think we all want Everton to stay in it, do we?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think they're a big club, massive club. And the support that goes with it as well. You know? So no, I hope Everton stay in that league.
And when we went down there to see Nazy, the club's fantastic. It was great to see Graham Sharp as well, wasn't it?
Sharpie, yeah, big player with them, absolute legend, and the store as well.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And Sharpie looked like in his heyday, he looked like Cliff Richard, didn't he, Ruffy?
Yeah, he
had
did,
that kind of a look about him, didn't he?
I hope he's still got that T-shirt.
Yeah,
I think Everton, if they win, they are safe. I think mathematically they are safe, but it's the Toffee's in a sticky situation.
Yeah. Last point. I hate to see it. I'm not even going to reply to that. I had the last point in my head, and then you went through that usual gag of yours that you've been doing all season. Last point, and it's just a little thing that saddened me when the Nottingham Forest fan attacked Billy Sharp. Billy Sharp's put out a little post saying he played for Nottingham Forest. He's not going to let it affect him. The majority of fans are great, but we're in a serious situation now, Tam, where more and more supporters are coming onto the park, and I think a lot of players are wondering about their own safety now.
Yeah, shocking. I just think it's very difficult to police that. I mean, you'd need thousands of stewards. I mean, if there's 30,000 in the stadium, they all decide to run on the park, there's nothing you can do about it. But a shocking, terrible, it just blindsided them as well, real cowardly. Didn't even see it coming. A guy that's obviously full of drink or drugs or something, or just off his head, and goes in there, really, really dangerous. And hope, Billy Sharp's hopefully okay, but it's scandalous. I hope he gets banned for life, the guy. Yeah. And the jail.
I think he has been caught. I don't know. I'm not for a minute suggesting he was on any substance. I just think his behaviour was absolutely reprehensible. Anyway, apart from anything else, thanks to so many of you for posting your messages. Lots of them sensible. Some people are not sensible. We ban them because we pride ourselves in being a football family that loves talking about football, individuals and clubs. And let's hope we're talking tomorrow about Rangers as Europa League champions. Join us if you can. Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel at 4 o'clock. If you download the app, you'll get all the latest stories at your fingertips, the breaking stories, and of course some great video content. But if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get all the notifications if you hit the bell on some of our one-to-ones, dream teams, special games. There's lots of features there that I think you will thoroughly enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow at 4.